Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And today, have a lot of cool crypto news to share, as the entire crypto market just fell down about 5%, and I think a lot of you guys are wondering, what is going on? Now, I found a couple of different things which are pretty negative for crypto, and so I combined them throughout this little video so you can conclude for yourself what you think the major reason for the prices coming down is, as it's usually pretty difficult to say what the exact one factor could have been. We could measure the hours and then look at the exact news and where it started at what time, but that would take hours of research, and once we got to a conclusion, it probably wouldn't be relevant anymore. And from that same perspective, we then still would not really know what the cause would be, as you don't know when people respond to a certain thing. There's obviously a big difference between institutional response / whales and the retail, and so it's going to be pretty difficult. And then another added bonus to it is that we don't know if these prices just move because it's the end of the year. There's some regulatory fear in general. There's some stock market fear in general. And so the 50K mark for Bitcoin, once it was tested, it fell down, and that caused more fear. Hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from, that it's pretty difficult to make these conclusions. Then again, let's start off. So first, one of the things I saw was this right here. Experts predict stricter regulatory measures for Bitcoin in 2022. And straight at the bat here, any regulatory clarity that's coming up can be good or bad, but any regulatory strictness is obviously a bad thing for Bitcoin / crypto, and so it's obvious that people are afraid of it. Then again, the counter to this is that we already knew this, and I don't really see any news coming out in the last couple of minutes or hours that talks about any strict regulatory measures. And so I'm not exactly sure how this could have caused a crash. Then again, this article came out about 10 hours ago when things started to move towards the downward direction, and so maybe, right? I'm just sharing whatever I found. Then our second thing could have been stocks. Stocks right now are not really going down. I mean, yesterday even we had a new all-time high for the stock market. But generally speaking here, we can see that it might move towards the downside again over the next couple of hours, throughout the next little day or so. And maybe Bitcoin is, for the first time ever, kind of showing the precedent or setting the precedent for the stock market to follow. I don't necessarily think so, but you can see it's not really a crazy bullish day for stocks. So there's something to be said about it. It could also be that actually throughout here, this little dip that we saw just throughout the day, or these lower prices throughout the day, is what caused it all. But I honestly think the stock market today can be left out of it. Then again, there is one thing in terms of stock market that I would like to point out. That is, of course, Evergrande. The Evergrande stock is today going up about 10%. We often talk on this channel about how Evergrande is really one of the scariest stocks to hold. I don't really know anybody who would buy this or hold this, as it's ridiculously scary and risky since the price kept going down for the longest while. However, today, we're seeing a huge amount of positive news about it. You know, I'm seeing some negativity in the midst of things, but generally speaking, 3 hours ago, 12 hours ago, they all of a sudden started to build themselves up, and I'm not exactly sure why the crypto prices would react negatively to bullish news for Evergrande. Then again, maybe whenever Evergrande is measured, there's just some big whale, that has an algorithm with Evergrande in the news, dump Bitcoin or short Bitcoin. And that's what caused it, because, well, usually every single time some news about Evergrande comes out, the Bitcoin market, crypto market I should say, dumps down the day afterwards. And so, something to be said about it. By the way, why, you might wonder? Well, because Tether it has a lot of their dollars that they basically back this UTT by in commercial papers by Evergrande. So if they ever crash or go away, then Tether is not stable anymore, even though Tether says they do not have it. There's a big debate about that. Another one is a lot of FUD that I saw go around right now about El Salvador. Right now, one thing I'm seeing on a lot of different articles is that El Salvador is actually going to get rid of Bitcoin as legal tender again. Now, I personally think that sounds really stupid because they've shown such a huge amount of support for it over on Twitter. But Mr. Will said this: Bitcoin transactions in El Salvador have plunged over 90% since they made it legal tender. People don't want to use some outdated tech that has high fees and slow transaction times. It's time El Salvador ditches Bitcoin and opts for something with real utility. And this went pretty damn viral. I saw a lot of different news outlets talk about this, and a lot of different news outlets hypothesize that this could be happening. And since we already know, guys, that usually the crypto news does not go in a logical flow, there's usually like one little source and then 1,000 different articles print a heavier version of it. It could be that some people fetched it poorly and thought that this was like a real plan. As you can already see here, El Salvador to ditch Bitcoin as legal tender. It's a really heavy title, but in reality, it's just one guy tweeting some idea because El Salvador doesn't necessarily want, or at least I should say the El Salvadorians don't really want Bitcoin there, as it's not really juicy for whatever use case they got. And it's just the way in which they did things is too forced. Then short-term holders, Bitcoin stake drops as price falls below 50,000, stock market rallies to new highs. You can also see it from a contradictory perspective where because the stock market is going up so much and is doing so really well, that the crypto hodlers actually were getting rid of some of the crypto to put back to the stock market after taking some profits at the end of the year. What we've seen quite a significant amount is that companies need to look good at the end of the year, and so they might want to take away something from their riskier asset Bitcoin into okay, I saw something. They want to take some money away from their riskier asset Bitcoin into some more fundamentally solid, or I'm going to say less risky, which is again relative because I would say crypto is less risky, but okay, into some less risky than stocks because it looks better on your balance sheets as you're more properly backed and have a safer strategy. Could be something to think about. I've seen a lot of articles about, how the end of the year could be a big pump for Bitcoin, a pretty easy one, as the last couple of days of the year, some of them might actually invest to, again, have better, like a better money line basically before the end of the year comes around. That's just what I try to point out. But so right now, a lot of short-term hodlers are getting rid of it. Could also be because of 1,001 different reasons. Could be for tax obligations too. Maybe they want to sell it right now. Maybe exactly the opposite, where they're waiting. Maybe for some, there's so many different theories which I can kind of make with this, guys. But you hopefully understand a little bit of the situation in that regard. Short-term, getting rid of it a little bit. Long-term and medium-term is still holding, is what these guys are saying. And then again, all the while, billionaires and major companies are still investing and it's still getting bigger. We talked earlier about how Apple is starting to get into it, right? Look at this, for example. Tim Cook said Apple is looking at crypto, and here's what the company is likely to do. They basically got a really long little talk about it. Tim Cook himself said he personally owns some crypto, and Apple is looking into it. It's not a real concrete plan just quite yet, but looking into it. But because I don't think people buy Apple stock to get exposure to crypto, it's not necessarily that Apple will invest in a literal sense, because I do kind of understand where they're coming from. They're not going to become like a next MicroStrategy or anything like that. Then again, from a different perspective, it does show the progression that's about to be made. And even though we might get regulatory hurdles or something like that, the general gist of it is billionaires are going for it. The big companies are going for it. Long and medium term knows it. It's only the short term that's sometimes doubt. Or is the short term that wants to make profit on the short term that want to make some quick money? Where the medium and long term are like, well, we're going to become freaking billionaires off of this anyway. So why hurry? Why get rid of some coins? Why this? Why that? Why this? Long and medium term Bitcoin investors are getting rid of their holdings at a record pace. Outputs from old spenders are increasing as Bitcoin drops by 2.5%. The Glassnode Alerts on-chain data provider has shared the number of spent outputs with lifespan 1 to 2 years, 7 to MA, metric that might give the market a hint about the source of the main selling pressure that is currently driving Bitcoin and other cryptos to go down. Number of spent output metric. The Glassnode indicator is designed to determine the number of outputs from Bitcoin wallets with different lifespans, and the lifespan setting allows users to determine whether spent outputs are old or young. And that's basically what they're talking about right here. So right now, it's mostly just young that's being spent as far as I know. While young spenders might not have the same effect on the market as old spenders, short-term holders are usually the ones who entered the asset shortly before selling it in order to generate moderate revenue by holding the asset for a moderate amount of time. All right. Then we got Ethereum. The whales are dumping ETH as the price slides below 4,000, data shows. Not too much to be said about that except for some guys getting rid of it, but that's also logical because the price is going down, so some people are getting rid of it, right? That's how price works in supply and demand economy, so, okay. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I want to quickly say, guys, make sure you check out my Twitter, and if you guys want a video on Casta, right? It's a crypto I keep talking about left and right. Make sure to let me know in the comment section down below on how to buy it exactly and how it's going to work, because I honestly think it can be a crazy launch, and I would highly suggest checking it out. A link down below is there for Bybit, where I am basically buying it on and getting it on. But I'll also make a video on it pretty shortly here to basically explain exactly in detail how to get it. It's just one little side note, because oh boy, is this one of the easiest opportunities for gains. If this coin doesn't go times 10, I hope times 20 or times 40, times 50, but if this coin doesn't go times 10, I hope it's going to even be 100xer. Could really be so, guys. So honestly, get into it if you can. Link down below for Bybit. Check it out. I want to talk about whistleblowers, but we'll do that a little bit later today. as I have so much stuff to share about this, man. I keep theorizing about how the SEC came to this spot, and that's also why I want to quickly share. There's an interview coming with John Deaton, and I'm not exactly sure when we're going to schedule it in, but stay tuned for that. If you're not subscribed to the channel just quite yet, make sure you subscribe right freaking now, because that's going to be so exciting. I want you guys all to be there or be square. That's what I keep telling you. Be there or be square. And also, let's quickly see this, guys. I wanted to talk about the price, but I guess things are just moving towards the downside right now, huh? Pretty big dip, pretty big dump. Nice reversal on Matic, by the way. That's like perfect textbook as well. Whoa! Oh, something dropped my headset almost on the floor. Wanted to say for XP, also quite a logical reversal point. We talked about that earlier. For Bitcoin, I think it's also the Fibonacci, no? Yeah, the 0.382 Fibonacci level is where it actually found its little resistance here, which we actually did call out before, but didn't expect it to hold on like that. We still want to close the year for Bitcoin above 49,000.4. So let's hope it bounces back up as we had a bullish engulfing big reversal candle. I think it's still going to end the year positively, but things are getting a little bit scarier right now as Bitcoin had such a big fall. But I think it will all fix itself in due time. Pretty excited about it all. Let me know if you're down below if you're buying this bottom. $49,000 if you're buying it right now. Let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys again in another crypto video later today.